Hey guys, welcome. We are going to continue learning about the circulatory system, but today we are going to look at something called blood. Remember that red little fluid that comes out of your body when you get hurt? That is called blood. And blood is actually, fun fact, is actually a type of tissue. To be specific, it is a type of connective tissue. Now, a tissue necessarily does not have to be a solid structure. If you guys remember, tissue is something that's made out of cells, right? And they all need to have a same job. Blood is exactly that. Blood is a tissue because it is created from a lot of cells coming together and they all have the same job. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is the job? Well, it has several different functions. It can transport various materials around our body from one place to another. It fights infections, but most importantly, it also maintains our body temperature. Remember, when you guys have a fever, your body temperature normally goes up, and that's because at that time it's fighting an infection. And it's fighting an infection to make sure it gets rid of the diseases, and after that your body normally comes back to its regular temperature. This is the function of the blood. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is the blood made out of? Well, blood is not just a red liquid like you see. It actually contains different components. As you can see in this test tube here, about half of it is made out of something called plasma. Now this is the liquid component of the blood, the plasma. But it also has a lot of different types of blood cells, specifically 3 of them. There is the red blood cells, there's the white blood cells, and there's the platelets. Now let's look at these one by one. Hold on. There we go. So if you can see here, the kind of hollow red structure here, these hollow red structures, the one that have a little donut-y shape, are the red blood cells. The white blood cells, as you can see, are literally the white blood cells, the white cells that you can see here, this one and this one. And platelets are these little raisin-like shaped structures that are the third different type of blood cells that we are going to be looking at today. Now, each of these cells have their own functions, and we'll look at that in just about a minute. And we'll also look at the various disorders that can happen because of some genetic disorders that happen in the blood cells. Now, let's look at the red blood cell first. Red blood cells, or RBCs, these are tasked with carrying oxygen to all parts of our body. So as you can see, because it is hollow, right over here, it has a lot of space, a lot of surface area to store the oxygen while it's transporting it from, let's say, from your arms to your lungs, or your lungs to your head, and so on and so forth. Now, a disorder that affects the red blood cells is called sickle cell anemia. This is a genetic disorder, which means that it happens because of something in a person's genes, because of which there is a defect in how the red blood cells are shaped. But let's look at platelets next. These raisin-shaped cells are called platelets, and their main function is to stop bleeding. When we pierce ourselves, or when we hurt ourselves and we start bleeding, these platelets come to the site of injury and they try their best to stop that bleeding from happening. And these form something called blood clots. These clots are the ones that kind of, plug that hole in our body, plug the hole so that no more blood goes out of our body. Now, there are certain proteins actually that help platelets to kind of clump up together to plug that hole. But if these proteins are missing, what happens is the person's blood will not clot, and if it doesn't clot, the blood keeps draining out of that hole or the site of injury. And this disorder is called hemophilia. Hemophilia. Now, we know about the red blood cell and the white blood cell, but let's look at the third one. Sorry, I meant to say we know about the red blood cells and the platelets, but let's look at the third one, which is the white blood cells. Now, the white blood cells are the soldiers. They fight infection and are part of our immune system. The white blood cells can actually be further divided into two types, which are phagocytes and lymphocytes. The phagocytes are the eating cells. They literally eat whatever they think is not supposed to be in our body. Now, there are certain steps that it takes, but we'll talk about that in just about a minute. Even though I said that they eat everything that's foreign, the most common things that they eat are bacteria that can harm our body. So these recognize bacterial cells, and they protect our immune system from them and protect our bodies by eating them up. Now, the first step, as you can see here, is that it recognizes a bacterial cell. It sees it and it says, oh, that's a bacterial cell. Then, step 2, it would surround the bacterial cell. It would literally from all sides surround it. So these cells are very flexible, right? Phagocytes are very flexible. So they kind of like blob around and surround the bacterial cell. And after it has completely surrounded the bacterial cell, they use chemical to break apart the bacteria. So first, they recognize it. Second, they surround it. Third, after they've completely surrounded, they do the fourth thing, which is to use chemicals to break the bacterial cell apart. Now we know what phagocytes does. Now let's look at lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are the second type of white blood cells. There are two more types, which are B cells and T cells. Now, B cells, they kind of act like spies for the immune system. They look for information, they see what's going on in your body, what needs to be done. And T cells act like soldiers for the immune system. Now, these actually fight the infection. They kill the germs that enter our body. So these are the different types of cells that we are looking at. I want you guys to use this information to complete today's activity. These slides will give you the answer. Sorry, not this one, this one. So these slides will give you the information to kind of complete this activity that we were supposed to complete today for our guided practice. So all of these information that we look at here, it has been shared to you, and you can look at the answers from the note sheet. You can look at the answers from the slides and complete this note sheet. I hope this helps. If you have any question, please come back and let me know, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. See you later.